Hey Joe, first thing first, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us on the Growth Mindset podcast. It is a pleasure to have you
Thanks for allowing me to grow. Here we go.
here. Awesome. So, one of the first questions I want to start off, Joe, with is for men that are working 9 to 5 jobs. Now, starting 2025, I'm sure a lot of men would want to go ahead and plan their new year, planning their years ahead in advance. So, first, let's start off with how important is actually physical health to people that specifically are doing 9 to 5 jobs?
Well, that's a crazy question. And the reason I say that is if we were asking how to optimize a house, how important would it be for the house to have a roof or a foundation or windows or doors? And so there is no mental health, there is no resilience, there is no happiness without optimizing your health. You have to take care of yourself. You have to do physical things. You have to eat healthy. Like, what are we talking about? Anybody out there that thinks you could separate your brain from your body clearly doesn't understand physiology. They don't understand how this all works, the anatomy, right? Like, many of us in school have taken a look at a human brain, and the human brain is typically in a jar filled with a clear liquid. Most of our body is water, a clear liquid. Imagine if that clear liquid was black and dirty and unhealthy. How would the brain operate? It wouldn't operate very well. There would be no roof on the house. There would be no foundation. So the first thing we all have to do is wake up early, sweat, eat healthy, do all the things we can to optimize our bodies because the brain lives inside the body.
Interesting. You've laid out in a very simple terms, Joe, right? Black and white. It's very important. Period. And I want to touch upon with what you were actually saying. You gotta get up early, sweat, right? Eat better. Can you elaborate, like for someone who wants to have New Year resolution starting? I'm gonna eat better. Give me probably a walkthrough of what should men focus on starting 2025.
Well, first of all, if this is the New Year's resolution, you already failed. 99% of New Year's resolutions do not work. However, if we're talking about a true life change, it starts the day you hear this. Doesn't matter what day it is, doesn't matter New Year's, what year it is. The day you hear this, the day you make the decision that you are going to have a more optimized life, a healthier life, a happier life, you're going to be more fun to be around, you're going to have more energy, you're going to give more energy to people. That's the day it starts. Now, what do you have to do? What kind of practice do you have to have in order to achieve that? Well, it's really simple. You're gonna wake up early. Now, unless you have a night job where you go to bed at 4 in the morning, which a few of us do have that situation, you're gonna get up early. You get up early, you make sure you get outside, you get some sunlight, you make sure you get some cold water therapy, whether you lucky enough to have a river in front of your house that you could jump in that's cold, or a cold shower, whatever it takes. Get some cold therapy in the morning, drink a bunch of water. I like to put lemon in the water or apple cider vinegar, get things going, and then go work out. You got to earn your breakfast. So you're going to sweat. How do you sweat? You could do yoga, you can go for a run, you could do push-ups, burpees, jump rope, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, just make sure that you break a good sweat and that it's hard and that you're out of breath and that you're really pushing weight. You're doesn't again, whatever your thing is, just make sure it's all encompassing. When that's done, get cleaned up, get your cleats on, get ready for work. You don't have to eat breakfast right away. You take your time. Like, we somehow have been sold this idea around the world that we're supposed to be eating all the time. Eat when you wake up, eat all day, eat before bed. That's ridiculous. The human stomach can't handle nonstop food entering in its way. So you've gotta pick the hours of operation that your stomach is open for business, and make sure those hours are limited because you got to give your stomach a break. We've been talking about restoration and recovery and all this stuff, but what about the stomach? The stomach needs a break. It's not just you sitting on the couch. It's not just you in a hyperbaric chamber or you sitting in a sauna or a cold. Like, give your stomach a friggin' break. So take your time before you eat breakfast. I always like to say, eat more salad. Even if you're going to eat pizza, even if you're going to eat tons of meat, whatever you're thinking, just eat more salad, clean salad, lots of it. And then pick your diet. I'm not going to fight with you guys over whether you should be vegetarian or vegan or carnivore. Pick your diet, but eat more salad. Get to bed early. Get off your device a couple hours before bed at least. Throw your device away if you can. Flush it down the toilet. But if you can't, you know, make sure you get away from him for the last couple hours of the day. Get to bed early. Don't drink. Alcohol is so ridiculous. I can't even believe we do it as human beings. Don't drink. And yeah, keep your room cold, cold temperature. Make sure it's dark. Pretty simple to have an optimal body and brain.
Yeah, we'll dive deeper into the routine that you suggested, Joe. But before we dive further into the conversation, I just want people to kind of know about you. So, Joe, would you just go ahead and probably give my audience an idea as to who Joe is and who are they listening to?
Joe is a crazy person. Joe grew up around a mother who used to travel to India a lot. She believed in yoga, meditation. She was vegan, and she believed in long distance running because her yogi taught her about long distance running. And so I've been around this since the 1970s. Didn't want any part of it in the early days. There were no Whole Foods, there were no yoga journals. It was not cool to be crunchy. But my mother introduced it all to me, and eventually I accepted it. I got really excited in the late 90s. I got really excited about building a business that would introduce this kind of a lifestyle, this kind of a mindset to the world, but to do it in a badass way, in a way that was attractive. And so Spartan was born. And so I have had, let's call it 15 million people cross a finish line somewhere in the world, somewhere between 11 and 15 million people. And the stories I get every day are, you changed my life. I'm back with my husband. I'm back with my wife. I lost 200 pounds. I gave up drugs. I gave up drinking. I didn't kill myself. You gave me purpose. And so that's the way I get paid doing this. That's the currency I receive. I pinch myself every day, even though it's a very difficult business trying to sell people hard shit. It's a very difficult business. I can't imagine what it would be like selling cigarettes or handbags or fancy shoes. Or I love I love that I get to sell transformation.
Thank you for sharing that. And this is something very interesting when you say I love selling people hard shit. Now, obviously, a lot of us, not a lot of us, but many of I don't want to generalize and put myself and you under that umbrella, but for folks that are making excuses, that are comfortable living the life they are, how do you make them believe that you gotta do this hard shit? Like, if you had to wake, let's say, an audience up who's listening to us, probably they're sitting on a couch and not doing, what would you say to them?
I guess I would say, let's think about this. If we were reading books, let's say we were lucky enough to read 100 books in 100 days, are any of the characters in the books or any of the insights in the books celebrating people sitting on a couch and watching TV? No. No, those books, those characters, those heroes are usually doing very uncomfortable, hard things. They've got everything going wrong in their life, and somehow they persevere through. Those are exciting characters in books. Can we think of movies where the movie celebrates a person that lays on the couch and has chocolate all over their shirt and they're eating popcorn and they're over, like, no. The characters in movies that are exciting are people that are fighting and pushing and somehow persevering. We know that the person in your life that is outdoors more, that struggles, that eats cleaner, is much more attractive. We know hardworking people are more attractive. Whether they're actually attractive or not, hard work is attractive. So we have all these examples in our life where the thing that gets us excited is very much the thing we don't want to do. Right? We don't want to, that's probably why it's so attractive, because it's so uncommon. So I would say either accept the life you have and enjoy it and be proud of it. Or if you want to change, if you want to be the hero in the book, if you want to be the man or woman in the arena, well, then get the fuck in the arena and go do it. Stop telling me that, nonsense. Put on your shoes in the morning. Nobody wants to put their shoes on in the morning. Get outside. Nobody wants to go out. Doesn't matter if it's your birthday or Christmas or raining or snowing or windy. It doesn't matter. Get the fuck outside and go do your shit. It'll make you happier. It'll make the people around you happier. It'll make you more attractive. By the way, If this was the 1500s and we were doing this podcast, I would say we need more couches and penicillin, right? We need more drugs back then.
Yeah.
But we don't. But we're not living in the 1500s.
Yeah.
We're living in a world where we have everything at our fingertips, and we're a bunch of lazy beings.
That's the ugly truth. And for someone like you, Joe, who's been in this space, trained between 11 to 15 million people, you've got them get to that finish line. What do you think is the key ingredient of people staying disciplined? I know people that start off all pumped up, but staying disciplined is where they basically lose that track. So, what do you think people could do? Are there any practical tips or hacks that we could do?
Super, super easy to do this. Number one, announce publicly as often as you can, as often as possible. Announce publicly that this is what you're doing. Start telling people and yourself that you wake up at 5 in the morning, that you run every day, that you take cold showers, that you eat more. Even if it's a lie, start saying it a lot. Okay, get it published in the newspaper if you can. Scream it from the rooftops. Seriously, because the more you say it and the more you commit yourself to it, the more likely you are to adhere to it. Number two, get some friends that agree with those statements. Get new friends. Throw out your old friends if you have to. Get new friends. I could lend you friends. I have lots of friends. And surround yourself with people that are going to hold you accountable to that task. And then number three, get some dates on the calendar. I'd love it if they were Spartan races or Tough Mudders or anything we do, but they don't have to be. They just have to be hard, challenging things that scare the shit out of you. Have those things on the calendar, have them 2 or 3 months out, every 2 or 3 months for the rest of your life. And that's going to force you to do the things that you're telling everybody that you said you were going to do because you have a date on the calendar. You are about to fight Mike Tyson in 3 months. Are you going to lay on the couch and not work out and not train? You're going to get killed. So what are you going to do? You're going to train. So number one, tell everybody you can. Number two, surround yourself with people that'll hold you accountable. Number three, get a date on the calendar. It's that simple. This is not rocket science. We don't need Elon Musk to figure this out. This is super simple.
Interesting. Now, I want to go back to the way we started the conversation, which was more on the lines of having that routine. You stated get up early in the morning, start, first sweat before you actually eat. But what do we eat? And I know you also know this, right? Like there are so many things out there. You said do what makes sense to you, but I want to understand if I'm eating salad, what are those things that I can potentially consume that give me more energy throughout the day? Like what kind of food should be consumed
Well,
generally?
the cleaner your food is, the less it's in a package, the more organic, the less chemicals, the better it's going to be. So if you're a meat eater, just eat really clean meat. Steam a bunch of veggies. Put a bunch of greens in a salad. Make a colorful salad. Don't cover your salad with a pizza. That's what a lot of people do. They turn their salads into pizza. That's not what I'm suggesting. So if you eat meat, clean veggies, etc. Make sure it's clean meat. If you don't eat meat, just stay away from the boxed food that's manufactured in a factory somewhere. You don't need it.
Now, I know you've written a lot of books, and some of them are best selling books. And one of the books that caught my attention, Joe, was The Spartan Way, right? Where you obviously talk about eating better, living better, working out, all of this information. Now, if you had to summarize in general, I know to some extent you have, but if you could dissect this even further and kind of give a more detailed overview of what exactly a Spartan way is like, how would you describe it?
It's the hard way. It's the stoic way. It's the road less traveled. It's cleaner food, it's less superficial nonsense. You don't need first class on the airplane, you don't need the five-star hotel. You're going to basically live like a stoic. You're going to take the cold shower instead of the hot shower. You're going to choose the salad over the ice cream. Doesn't mean that you're not going to cheat once in a while because we all slip up, but we're not going to define ourselves with that slip up. We move forward. Make sure the next meal is clean. Make sure the next day is good. Get to bed early. If you're out partying with your friends on Fridays or Saturday, well, then 30 years from now, you're going to be out partying with your friends. It's going to be a waste of time. So drop the parties, Have them meet you in a sauna if they want to hang out. Have them meet you on a run. I don't know.
So, what got you started, Joe, in this respective field? I know you said you started your journey in 1970s, and I know you've built a couple of businesses, you've sold them. What got you started? What got you inspired to basically start the Spartan?
My mom, that story from the 1970s with my mom, but also I wasn't feeling very healthy. I was, just like all of you, I was working on Wall Street. I was not feeling my best self. And I went out and started training, and I went out and did a race. I finally had listened to my mother, and I felt so alive. I signed up for another race, another race, another race. I went completely crazy. And then I said, I got to turn this into a business. This is so friggin' powerful. This has got to be a business.
Now, there is one thing which is a serious matter, especially in India. I'm not sure about the US. I've been to US a couple of times, but obviously I don't have full visibility into that. But one of the latest scenarios what happened in India was there was a man, a very prominent, a good person, like I think an AI engineer or someone, right? So he basically got divorced, and then there was a lot of court cases that they had to go. And that man got so frustrated, and he was making good money, but because of this going towards this courts and the alimony that the wife was demanding was a whole different thing. So the man at the end decided that, you know what, all of this doesn't make sense to me. I think I don't believe or trust my government judicial system. So I'm just going to end my life, close the story, and I hope everything turns out to be well. Well, I am of an opinion that we could do more as men. But for someone like that who is in that respective kind of an environment right now, who are mentally very disturbed and don't seem like there is a way out, what would your advice be?
This is very important. I want you to paint this on your wall in your bedroom or by your front door, chisel it in stone, repeat it 500 times a day. There is nothing in life that you can't walk off. Nothing. God forbid somebody dies. I had a friend on the podcast last week that was blown up in Afghanistan. He lost both arms and both legs. He can't even walk, and he could walk off that issue. My point is time, exercise, constant movement. You can get through anything, even if it's devastating. And you say to yourself during those walks, during that time, you say to yourself, it can be worse. It could be worse. There are people that have it worse. No matter how bad it seems, it could be worse. I wear a shirt that says, nobody cares, work harder. And I just remind myself, nobody does care. I just got to walk it off. I got to work harder. Could be worse. Could be dead. I'm not dead. I'm alive, so it's not that bad. How was your day, Joe? I'm alive. How was your flight? It landed.
So I really like the no bullshit answers from you, Joe, right? Like you're very clear cut saying this is what needs to be done. I mean, you can give me 10 different answers, my intelligent, like intellectual I think someone said this intellectual orgasms by giving you some practical tips and hooks, but you're like, all of that doesn't matter. You just got to do what you got to do. Just deliver, right? Don't set, don't think, just go, take the hard road, be stoic, and just keep moving forward. So this is very interesting because I want to understand from your perspective, what do you think is masculinity? What can boys or men do to get in more touch with their masculine nature?
I think masculinity is that ability to push through even when the odds are against you, even when you don't feel like it, even when it looks like you're not going to succeed. When I hear about Shackleton, the great UK explorer, the British explorer, who ran an advertisement that said, looking for a few good men, periods of complete darkness, low rations, return unlikely. Those 5,000 men that showed up for that interview, they were masculine. They were badass. And those that went out on that voyage and got stuck in the ice for 2 years and then somehow survived by eating their dogs, that's masculine. They didn't have to have big biceps. They didn't have to have Ferraris. They didn't have to have beautiful women on their arms. They just didn't quit. And so, hey, guys, the guys are jealous of those kind of men. The girls want to be around those kind of men. God respects those kind of men. Like, just work, get it done, inspire everybody around you, stop complaining because nobody cares. And that's that.
If you could recommend, Joe, for people to Because see, I work with a lot of young youth, and a lot of young youth basically have this mental notion where they want to become someone masculine, but because of the environment, because of social media these days, there's a whole different, like, masculinity is put down in a lot of sense. So in that respect regard, what would your ideas be? Where should people look for inspiration? What kind of books can they read? Who should they follow if they can? Like, what do you think for someone who wants to become better? What should be their path be? What kind of books, what kind of environment they should surround themselves with?
Well, my general feeling is that podcasts and books, and I have both of them, or conferences, they don't really work. What works is getting a date on the calendar and getting in the arena. So, but if you want to read any kind of survival stories, you want to read, The Endurance about Shackleton, who I just described, or you want to read the book Adrift, or even I like Shogun because it's so unbelievable what the main character has to go through. Read survival books. Look at people that are up against the wall and how they somehow find deep within themselves the ability to keep going. And I would use that for inspiration for myself to go out, get dates on the calendar, meet new people, become inspired. I always scratch my head and wonder why our races do what they do. How do they help people? It's because people are doing something that they never dreamed of doing. Like, it's so friggin' hard. They might as well be at the Olympics. So do some hard stuff. It becomes incredibly addictive, and then you're on your way.
So one of the things that I've come across, Joe, and I'd like to get your opinion on this is, because I'm someone who also believes in, you should have a very strict, like, make your life, choose hard stuff, discipline yourself, so that tomorrow life will not be as difficult. Because choose those voluntarily, the pain, so that tomorrow the life will not throw you that kind of pain and you could fight through it. So I'm someone who wants always recommends people doing things of that sort. But one of the other things that I've heard at times also is when men become too stoic. And the reason I'm saying this because for the young folks, because I know a lot of young audience listen to my podcast, and they say, and they would be like, because the people of opposite sex, or people, let's say the general audience or the environment that they are in, would say, you know what, men should also be in touch with their emotions. They should be able to cry, things of that sort, right? And I know the way of stoic is totally different. No matter what happens, you keep a straight face and you do what you gotta do, right? But what would
I don't mind crying. I don't mind emotion. Don't become so broken that you don't continue. But I'm sure Shackleton had a couple of moments out there in the ice eating his dogs where he was tearing up. I tear up all the time. Doesn't stop me. My son was tearing yesterday when he lost a wrestling match. Who cares? Suck it up, you know? Then last night, because he did well at the end, he wanted to celebrate. I said, "You get 7 minutes to celebrate, then we get back to work." Like, so that's it. But yeah, you're allowed to cry, you're allowed to smile, but at the end of the day, what you're not allowed to do is stop working.
have you ever had regrets, Joe? I know this is more like a personal question, but I'm curious because someone of your caliber who's always done what needs to be done, have you had any regrets? If yes, what kind of regret was it, and how did you overcome that?
Anytime I don't work hard enough and I feel like I can give more, I have a regret. So I just don't want to leave anything out there. I don't want to leave anything on the table. If I could squeeze a little more juice out of the day and I didn't do it, I regret that. I also regret, I wish we had more kids. We might have to adopt a bunch. I love kids.
Okay, interesting. How many kids do you have, Joe?
We have 4 kids.
Nice, nice. Okay, so before we wrap, one thing I want to ask you is, Joe, how can first people reach out to you? And then second, if there anything else that you want to share to the audience, the floor is yours.
Anybody can send me an email, joe@spartan.com. Do not make it a long email. Make it 1 or 2 sentences maximum. I'll respond. You can go to realjoedesena.com or @realjoedesena on Instagram. No idea on the other channels, but I'm on the other channels as well. And the only other thing I would add, what else would I add? We talked about how to optimize your life starting early in the morning. We talked about cold water. We talked about more salad. I would say if you don't get the results you were expecting as fast as you were expecting them, that's just the deal. That's just the deal. The universe is testing you. So be grateful that you're getting to do the work because the guys and the gals that died before you, or are missing arms and legs, or can't get to do what you get to do, it'd be embarrassing if, if you didn't use what you're capable of when they can't. So that's a wrap.
Thank you so much, Joe, for taking your time out and joining us on the Growth Mindset podcast. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.